So thank you all for being here, and I'm really profoundly grateful to be a fellow with CEA this year. It's been a remarkable experience, and leading from this position has proven to be quite a learning experience. I'm reminded of this quote, "If not us, then who? If not now, then when?" And I'd like to really just share some of what I've been up to. Many of the things that I've had the honor of engaging in this year were opened up through this role as a fellow. And so thinking about my leadership intentions, I wanted to advocate. And in addition to just gender neutral restrooms, I'm thinking about how can we advocate for those kids who don't fit into our system? How can we advocate for teachers who are also not seen or supported through systems? I was given the opportunity and planned to lobby around inclusive policies. I was able to speak on behalf of a colleague of mine, Tim Brown, had a measure at the delegate assembly. I was able to speak on that behalf. Thinking about disrupting inequities in a system through the SEL lens. This past year, I served as a social emotional learning specialist, and I developed and taught racial equity lessons in my role there. So trans inclusive policies is the focus of my doctoral dissertation, which I'm beginning this summer. I just finished my coursework at DU. But what I want to do with that is eliminate the discipline disparities for queer youth, and also ensure that schools are a safe place for them to exist. Looking at systemic inequities from outside the system, which caused me to launch Confluence Consulting, which is a DEI coaching and consulting collaborative. And with that work, I've already hosted with One Colorado, a trans youth panel, allowing them to speak about their awesomeness, their pronouns, and how administrators and school leaders can support them in the system. So I would consider myself an educational research activist, and no matter what my role is, I've been an educator for over 20 years. I served as a language arts teacher, a social emotional learning specialist, an administrator, and also an instructional coach. And now I'm a free agent, and I'm looking at what comes next. And I'm thinking about my perpetual objective, and that is to leverage my privilege to empower and to liberate those who are marginalized and oppressed. So I want to leverage my privilege and be able to speak and give voice to those who haven't been seen in our system. It's really important that our values align with what we say we believe and then what we do and our impact. I was able to develop curriculum at DU for an anti-racist book club. I co-hosted an election literacy workshop on Facebook Live to inform voters of the measures and different people that they were going to be voting for in our district in Adams 12. Creating SEL lessons, thinking through how we can promote racial equity. I was able to get a Donors Choose project that funded lots of books that finally represented the brown and Black kids in our school. And then having really awesome conversations with legislators and thinking about using Lobby Day as a way to network and hear who also shares my passion and is willing to use their role in the legislature to make positive impact and change for kids. James Cash Penney said, "Growth is never by mere chance. It is the result of forces working together." And I find often the system itself is the biggest barrier. And what this fellowship has done for me, it's exposed me to other people who also see working together is essential to make change. And there's so much good going on with educators in our state, across the districts, and we're growing. I've watched my peers in this fellowship grow this year by leaps and bounds, and empowered and dynamic voices that you're hearing today. And I think it's awesome to see that tangible growth in one another. So some of the lessons that I've learned some of them haven't been easy, but they've all been really good and really important. And I know that every system is designed to produce the intended results. And knowing that allows me to firmly believe that some of those systems have to be dismantled. And instead of thinking really narrow, how can we think big picture? And this, the pandemic allowed us to see a lot of the racial inequity and a lot of the violence against people who are outliers in society. And there's so much opportunity and potential for us to really dive into that as educators, for us to be our own voice and speak out for the inequities against us. And really looking at policy. How can we use policy to shape, reform, and change? So here are some opportunities that I was able to create. I talked earlier about the Facebook Live that I did. I chaired the Anti-Racist Action Book Club at DU. We read the book, now I think of it, Dr. Ibram X. Kendi wrote the book, How to Be an Anti-Racist. And it was a phenomenal opportunity to really get people to talk about race and have uncomfortable conversations that they can carry over into their schools. I serve at DU as a COESA board member. And I've shared a link to an article that was written about some of the racial equity lesson plans that I developed in my role. I had the honor of serving as a CEA delegate, as well as very soon coming up, serving as an NEA delegate as well. I participated in the lobby day, which was probably the most fun I've had professionally in years. Being able to work with One Colorado and Alex and the GSA Council. I met Representative Titone on lobby day, and she is phenomenal and such an important person to collaborate with in the future around my passion and my work with kids who are trans and who are coming out and socially or medically transitioning. And so here's some of my opportunities, working through my education consulting collaborative, finding other teachers, other leaders, other people who want to share their voice and their skill set to forward work in the school system, advocating through my research for LGBTQ youth, thinking about anti-racist parenting, working with the NEA Assembly, my friend who I created the Facebook Live with. We are going to begin a podcast as two educators thinking about how we can use literacy as a means of dismantling inequities in our system. And then really thinking about what comes next. The possibilities are endless as I move forward. And I'm really profoundly grateful to have had this opportunity with CEA this year. And I am grateful and I am inspired. Thank you.